Hey guys, it's Average, and welcome back to the channel, and today we're back with the Simworks Studio PC12. Now, it's floating here because the Sobo default kind of ready-to-fly screen does this. It's not going to float in the actual sim, you'll see. But we're going to take it for a good test flight today because Pablo wants us to test out his new whip and make sure it's good for his baking deliveries, which means we're going to have to visit a couple of his local strips. Now, it should be pretty easy, but they're pretty short. All of them are under, apart from the starting one at 2800 feet, the other two are 1700 and 1400. So both under what is recommended for the PC12, but I'm sure we'll do just fine. Yeah, we'll be just great. Now, we are going to be following the full checklists this time, and this time, the correct checklists, because when I did the review, the checklist I had was wrong. It was for the Carinado one, which is a different version, and it was also the Carinado one, which is, well, the Carinado one. So, we'll do our pre-flight checklists, which include gear handle to down, in fact down. Circuit breakers are in. Let's have a quick look. They're in. Hello, Captain Whiskers, are they in on your side? Yes, they are. Okay. External power switch is off, battery switch is off, everything's off on the top panel. Those are all good. So, battery switch on. Although I should have the, there should be an automatic, yes, that's correct. Standby bus should have been probably already on already. That's the one we need to have running a part of our flow for our avionics to power at least that unit. And this, we wanted to make sure we do the fuel reset here, which gives us the middle reading, which is our fuel, actual fuel weight. And this is the variable. This is not to be relied on because this is a floater in the tank. Can change with pitch and attitude. Okay, everything's on there. Voltage is good. Above 24 volts. Now, fire switch test. Engine fire is on. Excellent. Okay, we're good there. Right, gonna set my flaps to 15. Why are you windmilling? You shouldn't be even moving. Did I touch something? I probably touched something. Did I touch something? It could just be windy. That seems unlikely. The starter isn't on. Okay, we'll pretend that never happened. That's probably me. I did something weird. Okay, lamp switches, tests. That'll be up here. Everything lighting up. Everything's lighting up. Nothing's problematic. Cool. Fuel boost pumps on and auto. Same with ignition. Watching the voltage change there. Watch this. You can see the amperage draw change. EIS system. Now, I theoretically should be shutting this down now, which is what I should technically do per this startup step of the aircraft. We'll shut everything off. We will do our EPS test, which we will get 5 seconds and this will go green. This means the emergency power system is functional without battery on, so it's off. Now we'll go to fuel quantity has been set already. Okay, battery was set to off again. These to normal, to slave, CW, slave, and CW. Those are good. Passenger oxygen is to auto. We'll need to put that on in a second anyway, so we'll just do that once we actually go to the startup section. So that'll be on. Good to go. Those are slaved. EPS was tested. Cabin pressure is auto-guarded, normal, and guarded. Those are good. Lavatory, there isn't one, because we're a cargo version today, so no toilet to test. An exterior pre-flight we'll pretend is done. So let's do our actual before start. So control locks have been removed. That's been checked. Parking brake is set, chocks are removed, fuel caps are secured, fuel crew seats and belts are done. Overhead switches are off. Everything's off there. Standby bus on. Going on now. Those are all auto. Cooling and heating are off, DI switches are on, inertial separator open. Boom. We'll do our circuit breakers are all in. EPS we'll test again now this bus is on. Working. Okay, so our battery's on now. So 1 and then 2. Lights are set to be on where they need to be. Okay. Fuel. So external power is not required. Fuel quantity reset has been done. We are good there. Landing gear position lights 3 green. We have 3 green. We are good. So engine start. We'll need to, of course, do our pusher test first. So we don't need to have the engine on for that. We'll put the yoke on, which helps to have it visible. Make sure my throttle is in the aft position, because otherwise it'll start the test automatically. We do want to have our flaps in 15 degrees. We'll let that transition through. I should have already set that because it takes a moment for it to actually set that, but we should be okay here. I know this is taking a bit longer than I knew for a normal startup on a video. I'm walking you through the checklist here. I want to make sure that we know this is working. Pusher test, pusher enable. Throttle. Pusher is functional. Cannot, okay, there we go. Cannot move, it's just pushing forwards. Interrupt. Have control. Excellent, we have control. Cool, pusher test is complete successfully, which means start. So, prop area is clear, starter is engaged. Once we get to 20, and I find my glasses, which are very important to flying. Who knew you needed to be able to see to do any of this stuff? We are good. Let's give it some fuel. Ground idle. Engines will come up and online here. Wait, my left fuel pump's on. Okay, it's just telling me it's on. It's actually automatic. Let me just cycle this instead. Make sure nothing's gotten stuck. It had gotten stuck. Okay, it got stuck. That's fine. Engine's good and come up. So we'll go generator 1, generator 2, avionics 1, avionics 2. Standby bus is off. We're looking good. Everything as it should be. ECS to automatic. I forgot that step. So we are started up and we are good to rock and roll. Get ourselves going today. It's not a particularly long flight, but I will mention, of course, one thing I did screw up last time was changing mode on there. It's not just pressing the OBS button, because that doesn't exactly help us here at all. What we need to do is actually set it down here so that our mode there is changed, which is our, or is it, nav mode to GPS. And then boom, we are good. Okay, I think we're looking like we're good to go here, so head is turned on. And we're good to move here. So we're going to start taxiing forwards, get ourselves onto the runway. 2,800 feet of grass today, so not a particularly bad start. Grass, of course, means a little more power to get moving than we might normally on an asphalt apron. And that's our runway. Nice and easy. Turn right and take off. So we'll do just that. In fact, we'll put condition to flight idle as we're basically actually on the place we're going to take off already. Flaps are 15, so we're fine there. We are good to go, so let's get it going. Airspeed's alive. Not too bad on the torque today. It's behaving itself. Rotate. And up we come. Positive rate gear up. We're 400 feet plus 100 knots. Flaps coming up. That's to make sure we actually do not overspeed the flaps. Now I got my flows from the guys at Simworks. I sat down with Alex from Simworks Studios and a couple of their guys who are PC12 pilots who are part of their test team. And we went over the actual flows for operating this aircraft, including order of batteries and generator starts and things like, of course, what we're setting to auto, what we're setting to manual in the aircraft, and for some reason my track has vanished. I'm going to come around here, which is perfectly fine for us. It's about as much bank as I'd like to have. Now, in terms of setting our altitude, we would basically set that in with the roll. See, I was going to set this to 5,500. Then click it to pull it out. Set my vertical speed to 1,000. In this particular case, I'll put arm. I'm airborne, so your damper is engaged. Now, I want to follow this track. We're already set to GPS. We're set to GPS on there. So if I set autopilot, and set nav. And now here I just hit engage, and it's capturing. In fact, we're almost here, so it's going to just lock us into position. We don't need to climb because we're already there. Nice and simple. And this is going to track us onto the Corsair. In fact, my power's too high. We're at 42 torque. Highest constant should be about 36, I believe, on the PSI. You'll hear me refer to numbers. That's me talking PSI and our torque. That is the numbers I've been given in terms of where we should be operating the aircraft in different envelopes of flight. And there we are, we're captured, so it's resetting us here. Now I'm just briefly using the autopilot because it's really not that relevant to most of this flight. It's an aggressive capture of the line here because we're parallel almost directly. It's going to bring us all the way around here. See if it actually captures and actually engages this one. But while I do this, obviously I should have also set EPS to armed. I forgot that step. I'm an idiot. That's an emergency power system that will trick on if we lose power. Now, you heard me rotating there. Basically, that was about 73 for rotate, 83 for liftoff. Ballpark, depending on weight and conditions and flap setting. From what I'm told, typically could take off with flaps 15 or flaps 30 in extreme circumstances. Now, the stall warning is an interesting one because there is a weight sensor on the gear, which will detect weight on the gear, etc., and your power setting. So if you're stalling with more power on, it's going to assume you are heavier and that it will stall you at a higher speed. Assuming you are heavier and therefore actually stalling. It may not actually be stalling, but it will warn you and it will activate the pusher at a higher speed. Now, you will be able to use an LVAR to actually map the pusher interrupt here to a button in your sim. You'll need to do it in dev mode, of course, and map the LVAR, but it is doable. Of course, that's going to be one of those nuances that's for those people who are going to get closer to the envelope. We're going to be pretty envelopey today, but not too bad, I hope. So we'll have to see how this goes. In terms of our speeds, we're looking for about 11 to 9 on the PSI for my actual final approach power setting. At different flap settings, that's going to be different speeds. We're looking at flaps 15 about 115 knots. At 30 flaps, between 90 and 100. And flaps 40 about 80 knots. Now, once we're kind of approaching, touchdown, we throttle back to idle. And this is where things get a little interesting, because whilst you are trimming your whole approach down, that's normal. Something the PC12 real-world pilots, and these guys are commercial pilots flying these aircraft, have told me is, because the aircraft has enough power to get out of trouble, quite often they are trimming in the flare. Which is not something I would ever do as a GA pilot. We're told not to do it, because if you don't have the power in a GA aircraft to get out of that problem. But they are trimming into the flare on touchdown, which helps bring the nose up, because she can get a little lazy on pitch when she gets into that final stage of flight, so that's one thing to be very much aware of. Okay, we're actually appearing to be roughly on capture now, at least somewhat, and heading towards La Rumorosa. A very boring stage of flight, just flying in a straight line, but I'm letting the autopilot capture me and actually behave here. We came at it at a rather extreme angle, which made it much more difficult for it to actually snag, but it did snag it, so we'll call that good. Now, I did do some practice with Alex and the guys from Simworks to try and better my understanding of the aircraft and its behaviour. I think I have a better grasp of it this time around. We'll have to see with these two flights. Obviously landings and takeoffs, of course, but it should be interesting. Now, we are operating under the kind of performance envelope here. We're running at about normal to minimum weight in the aircraft and about half fuel, so we're not too light, too heavy. So we should be more than capable of doing what we're doing here. It's just going to make things a little bit more interesting. Now, the one we're heading into at the moment is La Rumorosa. Now, La Rumorosa is... I'll be linking these three airports in the description, by the way. They're all add-on airports. This is Mike X-Ray Alpha Bravo. This is all the Tecate region of Mexico. This one is 1,733 feet in length. So we'll disengage autopilot. We'll leave our yaw damper on, because that is always left until you are really in final on the aircraft. Here is the town of La Rumorosa. And it's above the, I've forgotten what the name of it's called now. The lake thingy over there. Let me look this up, because my mind will not let me rest until I remember what it was, because I was meant to note this down on my actual sheet of notes I have for this flight. But for some reason I did not bother to link it, or to include it. This is called Laguna Salada. There we go. Yeah, Laguna Salada. So this is our airstrip here. It's tiny, but we're going to make a good go of things. And we're roughly on downhill now, so downwind, not downhill. I'm going to drop us back to about 15 PSI. Let our speed bleed off. And the speed will bleed off very quickly in this aircraft. Shouldn't give us too much trouble. And we're going to basically continue here until we reach the far ridgeline there. Come around it should give us our final heading, if you will. I sound a little short of breath right now. I don't know why, but I am. It's weird. Maybe I'm dying. More than plausible. I'm also talking way too much and not breathing enough. Probably more that. Okay. Let's pull this power out a little bit more. We need a little bit less, so we'll go down to our approach setting. I will extend downwind here till we bleed some speed. Because we are rattling along at quite a clap. Keep our nose relatively level. In fact, we'll make our base turn here. That should give us enough time. There we go. So gears coming down. Oh, we're losing a lot of altitude there. Let's keep the nose up. That's how we're bleeding off speed. Move it back up to about 15. And we will need to climb a little bit on our final run. Not ideal, but with this huge depression in the run up to the runway, it makes things a lot more challenging for us. So flaps coming down to 15. In fact, at our current speed, we should be good with that. So I'm going to gain a little bit of altitude here. So we're going to build our torque a little bit higher. Go to about 20. I can't see the runway, which is a problem. I can see the runway. No, we're good. So we're going to go to flaps 30. And we're going to roll to final. It's an interesting approach because it's very much a carrier deck style approach here with the canyon below us. It's going to make things a little bit difficult to judge our altitude. These can be tricky when you're approaching airstrips like this because you get that huge depth below. You're going to end up lower than you think you are. And you get that tabletop effect. So rather than looking at the landing zone, you're looking at the far end of the runway. Keeps your head in the game. Okay, we're 30 degrees. We should be okay. We've got more room here. I'm going to go 40 on the flaps. And I'm going to slow down to about 100 knots here. So drop myself here to 11, maybe 9 PSI. I'm going to trim the aircraft here. So we're straight and on the path. I have to watch my speed. Okay, we're at 11, that's okay. Drop it back at touch here. And we're looking at the far end of the runway, not the near end. The rollout point, not the touchdown point. Keeps us from getting our head too low and ending up below our touchdown point. We're losing speed here, so I'm going to add some more power. Keep this attitude we have. We're sinking at a good rate, noses up. Okay. Coming off the power here. Just a little bit. Off the power. Trimming, trimming, trimming. Off the power, off the power. Watch the trees. Off the power, idle. Trimming, 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 trimming.
Warning, drop pitch.
And we're on the brakes and the reverse. And we're idling on the power. There we go. To ground, which is my lever. Ground, there we go. And here's the first of Pablo's consultants from his baking corporation, who is here to make sure everything is going well with our test. Hola, Jose. Yes, everything's going well here? Yes? Muy bien. Muy bien. Yes, thank you, Jose. Okay, let's get ourselves turned around here. So, we landed a little bit late on that one. I came in a little bit faster than I really needed to. I'm a little bit gun shy. We were a little bit late on our touchdown, that's fine. But it was more than doable. We didn't use all of the 1,700 feet here, so more than capable. And that was with brakes and our reverse. And thankfully the aircraft is advising me that my trim is out, which it absolutely is. So I have rudder trim out, which I will correct now for takeoff. And that was from the autopilot there. And my pitch trim is out as well. for takeoff. So let's reset our pitch trim to where it should be, into the green arc. Elevator trim is good. All trim is correct. Let's move our flaps up to 15. Well, no, we're going to go 30 for this takeoff. We're going to need it, because this is going to make things a little bit spicy. Because this is short. 1,700 feet to get in the air. We should be more than capable of doing this, but it's going to require us to definitely be on our game. We'll have to make sure we peel it off the runway pretty quickly. What we'll do is we'll get up. As soon as we clear those trees, we'll get our nose down and level. We'll pull the gear in, we'll pull the flaps in, we'll be straight and level, build speed, and then we'll go out on our way. And here I'm going to basically apply, now making sure, confirming, and again I have a warning on, it's slightly off there, so why are you warning my trim? I'm not sure what the yellow light means. It's probably bad. But yeah, we'll make sure it's fine. Okay, full power here. Hold the brakes. It's going to pull to the left over the torque. Let the torque build up. A little bit of right rudder on release of brakes, just to make sure it doesn't pull left immediately. And we're good. Speed is alive, slowly but surely. Okay, this is going to come into... rotate. Yeah, shut up. Okay, nose is up. Gear up. Flaps coming up. Quiet. Power back. And we're good. No problemo. No, flaps, come on. Keep coming up. So there, I peeled it off the runway a little bit sooner than merely the aircraft would like, which is not what you want to have happen. But at the same time, I had to, because the sooner I was up and into that ground effect, I could build speed, I could get the nose down, and I could start to get the aircraft wanting to fly. It really wasn't exactly impressed at the time, and we had to make sure we encouraged it. Now, I'm pretty sure the GPS is cracked out, so let's reset this. MXAC. Thankfully it's right next to us. There we go. And that's going to take us this way. Should not be far here. We're heading to Arroyo de Agua. We took off, by the way, from Rancho Las Yuntas, which is also in Tecate. All three of these are in the region of Tecate. Arroyo de Agua is up here. We'll head for these two peaks ahead of us. We should be good. Now we'll be right on the edge of the Laguna Salada for this one. In fact, we'll be out over it, and it's a humongous drop. As we're about 4,500 feet here, you'll go down to almost sea level at the bottom of the Laguna. So it is quite a drop. Way more than we had back there. Again, it's really deceptive to the eye when you're on approach. This is why looking towards the touchdown point, or the rollout point, matters more. Because it distracts your eye. Rather than looking at what you're going to basically be trying to touch down on, which is very GA way of doing things, you can often come in short or in low when you're dealing with a tabletop, so you need to have a bit more depth in how you're approaching that runway. So you notice there how we came in almost perfectly by looking at the end of the runway, not the start. Okay, our power's low here, but we don't need exactly a ton. We're only a minute out, not far away at all. Aircraft's behaving very nicely. I really like it. It's honestly, with the actual performance of the sim being excellent and the now having the right checklists, it's making everything a lot better. My flying is a lot better. Now I actually know the nuances and idiosyncrasies of the aircraft a little better. I'm certainly no expert, but I definitely feel a lot better equipped to handle it. And there we go, Laguna Salada, all the way down there. It's stunning out here. Absolutely beautiful part of the world. And here is our final destination. I say that not meaning the film, I don't intend to die here. There's our runway, right there. So it's just about an uphill grade, and it's thankfully a very flat, open approach, so we should have a much easier time with this. But then again, those can also be deceptive too. We can end up coming in a little bit too slow, trying to be special about things. We're going to try and go for a nice early touchdown and try and make this as nice and short as possible, but we're not going to take any superlative risks. Because we have got plenty of room. It's 1,464 feet in length, and it is slightly uphill. So that should give us about another 100, 200 feet. with the gradient, because it's not a super steep uphill runway. Obviously, the more steeper runway is, the shorter you can land, or shorter distance you need for takeoff and departure, because that slope will compensate to slow you down or speed you up, you know, in whichever direction you're going. So let's pull out our power here. We'll go to about 8 to just slow us down. Look at that stunning view. And we haven't been outside at least once in this video. The gorgeous PC12. And look at that view. Wow. That is stunning. Okay. Right. Focus up in the cockpit. Let's do our jobs here. Okay, gears coming down. So let's pull up a checklist here for our... I should have done my after start checklist. I didn't. But I will, however, do my before landing checklist. And we're descending way too much there. Let's pull that nose up, because we were just dropping in while I was looking off screen. Landing gear, 3 green, foot brakes tested. Landing tax lights are on. Flaps as required. We're going to set flaps 15 for now. And we're going to start our turn to base. Come around here. Big drop off here, so massive tabletop that we need to focus on. And the runway threshold isn't even at the end of the table. So we're at about 5,000 feet above ground level at the bottom of the Laguna here. And we have to work out how to get back up on top of that. So I need to climb here. I need a lot more power at the moment, as we're basically downwind here. Let's go full power. We definitely lost a lot of altitude, more than I would have liked. That was me being distracted looking off screen. So that's entirely my fault. And that is very much more of an effect of sim flying than it is actual flying. So there's the rocks. I know roughly where we need to be here. There we are. And I should be able to turn on course here. And hopefully correct my mistake. I think. Yes, I think I see the runway over there. Got it. Okay. We're actually almost back on track. Just a little bit squiffy. I was too low. Entirely my fault. So, speed's good. I'm going to drop myself to 30 on the flaps. Okay. I'm going to make sure we roll to final here. Everything nice and stabilised a long way out if we want this to be a nice slow landing. I need to be very careful not to come too slow though. And we should be good. This is bush flying, so there's no exact correct approach, attitude or angle. There's a little amount of nuance to this. Okay, let's go down to 8 for the time being. Or 9, sorry, PSI. Between 9 and 11 is what I'm meant to be looking for my approach. Let's trim the aircraft. I haven't been doing that. And we'll go flaps 40, which means my approach could be low as 80 miles an hour, or knots, dropping down to 60, 70 on our touchdown. So, trimming the aircraft out here. Bit of a side angle. But I'll just correct that as we overextend a little bit here. And then I can just nudge it back on course. A little bit slow, a bit more power. To 11. Okay, bring her down to 8. Keep the trim going. Looking good, looking good, looking good. Here I can look towards the touchdown point, not the end, because this is where we have a pretty nice solid approach here. Okay, keep the nose down. Let it just settle in here. Okay, we're getting very close to knife point now. And...
warning, prop pitch.
Yeah, shut up. No one cares. And back to idle. Uh-oh, don't touch the brakes while it's doing the reverse business. Okay. To idle. I'm just going to put the brakes on for a second. Because we're going outside to have a quick look around and go, that's how much I used. And we've got about equivalent. 1,400 feet. That looks about 700 feet, doesn't it? I will take that. I asked one of the PC12 pilots at Simworks, there's one of the testers who flies for one of the companies that use them, What's the shortest he's landed in? Apparently 700 feet, so I think we can call that even. Even though, yeah, this is the sim, and he's actually a commercial pilot. Who's counting that slight difference there in qualification? I'll take this as an improvement over my first landing we had in the initial first look. Significant improvement. Yes, I know my trim is out of order. I don't need to concern myself with that right now, because I'm not taking off again, so we should be okay. But I'll pull those flaps in, and we'll just get ourselves taxied up to... oh, look, that's Hector up there. He also came to make sure Pablo's bakery delivery service was running smoothly during the test phase. And I think we can tell Pablo it's a resounding success. This aircraft can absolutely operate out of his favourite strips to make sure his guests get their baked goods. There we go. And then we'll go pull this back to cut off. Parking brakes engaged. And that is all she wrote, boys and girls. That is all she wrote. The PC12, will it bush? Absolutely will it bush. Does it require a little bit of practice and finesse and specific power settings it particularly likes? Yes. Would you absolutely benefit from mapping your pusher interrupt? Sure, because if I got a little bit too slow on that approach and I was close, if I had gotten a little bit closer, it would have done the stick pusher, pushed it forward, and ploughed us into the desert, and then there would have been sugar all over the runway, which would have been good for nobody, but there would have been quite a few high rabbits. And on that bombshell, I bid you adieu. Adios. I was waving if you didn't see that. Bye.